This is you. Your name is Alexander, but that's too small, so you add the Great before you've even done anything, and that basically sums up your life. So that's it. Thanks for watching. You don't grow up like other boys. Raised by a mother who swears your father is the god of thunder, Zeus. Don't even get me started on that. I might not be the smartest guy in the world, but even I know your mom and Zeus could never work. She claimed a lightning bolt struck her womb the night he was, conceived, and that she would sleep with a giant snake at night. Yeah, so I guess that explains why Alexander became who he was. Your mom was Olympias, and your actual dad was King Philip II. Instead of action figures or stuffed animals, your toys are miniature weapons, because the gods apparently decided the world needed one more lunatic with a sword. Before you can write your name, you're being molded to rule. By 7, you're riding and taming the biggest wild horse, a horse no man had ever been able to tame before you. By 10, you're training with real weapons, and by 13, you're being taught by Aristotle. Aristotle was basically the original know-it-all. He was a Greek philosopher who lived from 384 to 322 BC, and he shaped Western thought more than almost anyone in history. He taught you philosophy, science, literature, and medicine. You were basically given the best education money could buy. But he was a little weird. He dissected animals to try and classify all living things. Basically the father of zoology. Some could say he was a little crazy. Your relationship with your real dad was, well, let's just say not the best. King Philip II, ruler of Macedon, was one of the most powerful men of the early world. Early on, Philip saw you as heir to the throne material, but also as a tool, someone to mold into a weapon for Macedon's future. Your parents basically hate each other. Your dad was cheating on your mom, and your mom was trying to make you hate your dad. Philip wanted you to be a king. Olympias wanted you to be a god. You soaked it all in, but began to believe you were more than a man, which is never a good thing. By the time you turned 18, you were leading the cavalry at the Battle of Chaeronea, helping secure a massive victory for your dad. This was a major turning point. You weren't just the prince anymore, you were a warrior. It started becoming a rumor that you were soon going to pass up and take over your father. When you were 18, your dad remarried Cleopatra Eurydice, a young Macedonian noblewoman. You saw it as a threat for your claim to the throne. At the wedding, Cleopatra's uncle made a toast hoping for a legitimate Macedonian heir. You threw a cup at him and stormed out. Philip tried to attack him, but stumbled drunk with a sword. Alexander said, "Look, the man preparing to cross from Europe to Asia can't even cross from one couch to another." Boom, roasted. Shortly after, you and your mom were temporarily exiled. The relationship with your dad was never the same. 2 years later, when you turned 20 in 336 BC, Philip was assassinated by his bodyguard while entering a theater. Some believe Olympias orchestrated the murder. Others think you knew about it, or at least benefited from it. You immediately returned from being exiled and had Cleopatra Eurydice and her baby executed and secured your position as king. Yeah, you literally had the baby executed, so I hope that keeps you up at night. You spent the rest of his life trying to outdo your father. You carried your daddy issues across continents. Because why rule Macedonia when you could carve your face into history? You marry Persian princesses. You and your men get drunk and burn an entire city to the ground. After conquering cities that resisted too hard, you sometimes salted the earth so nothing could grow again. Real classy. You always led from the front and were almost killed multiple times in battle because you insisted on fighting alongside your men at the front. At one point in India, you were shot in the lung by an arrow, nearly died, and still led another charge a few days later. Talk about leading by example. Oh, and you once split a man's head with a spear mid-gallop. During a cavalry charge, Alexander reportedly threw a spear through a Persian nobleman's helmet and skull, while riding full speed on horseback. That story made its rounds fast. Imagine being the poor guy that not only got a spear to the head, but had his story told for the rest of human history. At the peak of your campaign, you commanded around 40,000 to 50,000 men, a group that somehow managed to conquer the largest empire in the world at the time, Persia, stretch across 3 continents, and go nearly 11,000 miles without GPS or deodorant. And there definitely weren't a ton of showers. Maybe a pond if you were lucky, so not only did you have to worry about dying in battle, but also dying of stench. And don't even get me started on the bad breath. And not to mention, Alexander the Great didn't believe in personal hygiene and thought bathing made him weak. So, yuck. Oh, and you're accomplishing all this while still in your 20s. I think most people in their 20s are drinking at the bar, so congrats, I guess. You name cities after yourself like you're scared the world will forget you the moment you sleep. Alexandria in Egypt, in Syria, in Afghanistan, the whole map starts to look like your resume. All in all, you named over 20 cities after yourself. There were more cities called Alexandria in the ancient world than there are McDonald's today. You even named one Bucephala after your horse Bucephalus, who got a hero's burial. Your soldiers? They got heat stroke and PTSD. The nicest thing you ever did for your soldiers was host a drinking contest. To honor a fallen comrade, you hosted a massive drinking competition, where, everyone died. The winner drank 13 liters of wine and died. So did 41 other contestants. Alexander called it a tribute. The liver damage said otherwise. You throw massive feasts, demand godlike honors, and start killing your oldest friends for whispering too much. Cletus, the man who saved your life during battle, you run him through with a spear during an argument. Because why not? Then you invade India, because of course you do. You don't even know what's there, you just know it's not yours yet. On the way back from invading India, you decide to cross the Gadrosian Desert instead of taking the safer route. Thousands die from thirst and heat. You survive. You always survive. Then, your best friend Hephaestion dies. He dies of fever, just like that. And instead of honoring him and becoming a better person, you have the physician executed and shave your head. Of course you did. Soon after you turn 32, your body starts to fail. Fever, tremors, confusion. You drink too much and sleep too little. You host one final banquet and collapse soon after. On your deathbed, your generals crowd around you, kinda excited to finally not be yelled at. And just like that, you die. Unfortunately for you, it's believed that you may have been buried alive for 6 days. Some historians believe he went into a coma from fever, but since ancient people weren't great at checking pulses, they embalmed him. 6 days later, his body didn't decay for days for some weird reason, which they called divine at the time, proving that he was actually a man amongst gods. Or maybe he was just still alive. Oops. You didn't have an heir after you died and left no instructions, just an empire stretching from Greece to India, and no one strong enough to hold it. Your generals carve it up like vultures circling a corpse. Your wife and infant son are murdered. The dream dies with your heartbeat. Your legacy becomes a chessboard of backstabbing, civil wars, and assassinations. By the end of his ruling, Alexander the Great was estimated to be responsible for over 200,000 deaths and conquered over 70 cities. He conquered territory across Greece, Egypt, Persia, Central Asia, and parts of India, and ruled over 20 to 25 million people. Not too bad for someone who was only about 5'6".